All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. My name is Scott, and you join us for the instant reaction review for Clash in Paris. It's in the books now, and it ended with a big moment. I'm going to bring in Lucas now to talk all things Clash in Paris. Lucas, overall, what did you think of tonight's show? I know on the watch along we talked about its length being quite an issue, but generally speaking, I would say fun matches at least.
Yeah. I think they delivered well for the Paris crowd. Just yeah, I think obviously the stamping point at the end. I think obviously that'll be a big talking point. I think that will really help this Vision stable quite a lot. Find some chemistry and hopefully we get out of the pattern that Raw main events have become. With the interference and all that kind of stuff. I thought overall, yeah, like I've got mixed feelings on it because I just think that they're really on the back foot off that first match going so long, and everything involved with that going so long.
Yeah.
And I really felt for the tag match. The tag match just basically came out to crickets and fought to crickets most of it because it would just be like the first segment did everything. You had, tsunamis, tables,
It was a lot.
stuff outside. Jey Uso came out, like Paul Heyman getting knocked. You had literally like a WrestleMania main event worth of stuff happening
In
in
the
the first
intro, yeah.
match. And then you've got to send out, in our spot way, two teams that haven't really had much kind of build to anything they're doing at the moment. Um, and I think that kind of struggled. But I actually thought that the surprise kind of sleeper hit for me of the night was the Nikki Bella and Becky Lynch match. And I have seen some clips already circulating of Nikki's. She botched she did with both of them really. They botched like Nikki doing a move off the ropes. Becky wasn't in position, so Nikki kind of kicked and hit nothing. But I think overall, like a lot of the match was very good. And I think it over delivered. I think
Nice.
Nikki Bella isn't obviously the best women's wrestler that they've got, but I think that she's definitely able to hold her own still. And I think we need to kind of move away from a narrative that she's just back for a paycheck or she's back for this, that, and the other.
I
Uh,
agree.
I think
Yeah.
she's more capable of having a decent match, on a PLE, and she took a loss to Becky. And now I have a lot of questions about how this will now affect the Vision, because obviously having two championships now within this, and you have to imagine that obviously the Bronze aren't going to start spearing and tsunami the women.
Yeah. Imagine they start helping Becky win her matches the same way they help Seth.
So I'm hoping it's a good sign of there's going to be a bit of a change coming,
Yeah.
to the Royal main event, and it's much needed.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is a positive sign for things to come. I've been wanting Becky to join the Vision since its inception, or even since before it. I wanted her to be with Seth
Yeah.
if they were both going to be heel anyway. So yeah, kind of I agree with what you're saying there. We'll get to the matches in a little bit more detail very soon. But I'm going to throw over to some comments here from Gary. Says 10 out of 10 show overall.
Wow, I really
Was
liked
a
it.
great show. Gary really did enjoy it. And I think a big part of that was the audience, as Gary says here. What do you reckon was louder, Scotty? The Italians or the French? The Italians were good. I mean, all the European crowds have been good. But the French, man, the French are good. They're really good tonight. And I do think that was a big part of the show. So let's kind of start with the opening, Lucas. I mean, we did get some images floating around online. Of course, we also saw in the countdown that the stage they set up was not your average stage, and everybody's excited. I mean, straight away, this is where these WrestleMania comparisons come from, in the sense that it was, I guess, maybe WrestleMania Light, or that above your regular PLE, maybe a B show, almost.
Yeah.
Not quite the C show that you might have expected, because the card was good and delivered. Again, we'll touch on that, but the presentation was fantastic as well. As soon as they announced this arena, I was excited because I knew it was the biggest arena in the world. It was 40,000 for concerts. They managed to get 30,000 in with their WWE production, which I think is incredible. It looked amazing. The fans were on fire. And again, the stage setup was fantastic as well. We had the kind of curved entryway with the curved screens on the entryway, screens behind that, and then a huge Eiffel Tower in the middle, which started off the show with lights and fireworks, which is always a good sign of things to come as well. But generally speaking, about the vibe, first of all, Lucas, before we get into the matches, what did you feel about the presentation of this show?
Yeah, presentation will be very good, and it hopefully will be the start of us getting some of these more custom sets back.
Yeah.
That's been missing for a long time. It's just been the big screen, isn't it? Or now the little screen when they were obviously making the set smaller to accommodate more fans. But I think, just like little things like, I think they go a long way. Obviously, I was recently I watched some of the WCW stuff on YouTube, and they had some of the most bespoke sets to every single show they ran, really.
Yeah.
Some of it wasn't the best. Was questionable. A bit like a Blue Peter or Doctor Who set. That's very, very British comment there. But I think it just makes the show feel a bit more personable and a bit more like not just another one of this on the production line of like, okay, we're just doing copy and paste job.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it was really nice. Particularly, again, I know that it was a match I said that some of the crowd didn't really care for as much, but in the tag match, when it lit up with butterflies, the Eiffel Towers, for the White Six entrance, that was a nice touch.
Yeah.
And it's a good use of like the stage being part of the show essentially, which I guess has kind of got forgotten lately because it's just been big screen.
Yeah, and like you say, a lot of times they've used a smaller screen to get people in. So I guess in a smaller entryway, get people in. I think this time they could have kind of afford to, because again, that this venue leans itself to good production, and I think that is a big benefit of the venue itself. So you've got that, and also there's been a lot of discourse online recently anyway about people missing those old stages and that personality, as you kind of rightly compare it to. It's just a part of the show and it makes you remember it. I think anytime this comes up, the obvious ones, the SmackDown Fist and all that, but like the one-off ones are fantastic as well. I think a lot of people remember Backlash where there was kind of claws, so to say Backlash, you know what I mean? So
was it TLC when it had all the chairs hanging up?
Yeah, and Cena pulled him
on
Wade Barrett on some weird thing that covered him. I didn't expect Wade Barrett to get crushed, don't get me wrong, but I think it looked terrible when they did that. But the stage itself was cool. You said the big old chair for King of the Ring. It is a lost art, but maybe not. Maybe we're back to that as well. But let us know in the comments, guys, what you thought of the overall presentation.
In your house.
In your house was always great. I mean, they did a good one when they brought that back for NXT at first, though, didn't they? So
we're still waiting for what the big story was with the Charlotte.
Oh yeah, mate, I forgot all about that. Yeah, there was a reason behind the women's match, the decision they went with, weren't it? Triple H said, and we never really understood. We never understood what that was. Gary says, kind of looked like old school SmackDown entrance minus the Eiffel Tower. Yeah, I think it definitely had that kind of flavour. Yeah, minus the Eiffel Tower. Yeah. But yeah, again, a very enjoyable show overall that started out in a big way, as you mentioned earlier on. If there's any negative about this show, it is timing and pacing. I don't know, maybe if I watch this with fresher eyes, I could look at it again and judge where I would move things around. But the way we got it started out as we kind of expected, though, with Roman Reigns, because of those rumors. Who knows how true it is about Roman Reigns either starts the show or he ends the show. And tonight he started the show, and to be fair to him, although it was long, they did it in a big, big way. It was a match that I think was, again, as we mentioned on the watch along, and thanks everyone that stuck with us, it started out slow. It's not my favourite kind of match where they have the slow bit and then it explodes, but at least the exploding bit's good, right? It did drag a little bit considering what happened at the end of it. It kind of trimmed about 5 or 10 minutes. But generally speaking, if we just talk about the match itself, pretty enjoyable. It did explode at the end, and Roman Reigns picks up the win. Has a nice little moment where, of course, the slimy Paul Heyman tries to kind of grovel and give him the Shula Fala. In the end, Roman turns on him. Obviously, he's not buddies with him anyway, but attacks him essentially. And Heyman's off to the hospital, by the way. And he's celebrating. They're cutting the laces. And then out of nowhere, he gets attacked by Braun Breaker on the announce table. Braun looked like he'd hurt himself at first. But then I thought, no, he's just kind of playing that he's angry. A little bit of back and forth and trying to fight out of it. Bronson Reed gets involved because at this stage, I thought Braun's the next person in this feud. We've kind of forgotten about Bronson already. I felt kind of bad for him. But no, quickly it turned all into the Bronson Reed show again as he hit him with a tsunami. Not once, not twice, but thrice. And 2 of those times was when he was strapped up defenseless in a stretcher, which I thought was a great spot. Jey Uso did try to make the save, did it a little bit late, was beat up himself, and that played into the main event. Yeah, quite a bit late. But generally speaking, a very fun match and kind of segment after it. Just not sure if it was the way to kick off the show. Maybe it should have started with that tag team match. But let's just talk about the kind of presentation of it itself, in and of itself, take away the rest of the show. What did you think about Bronson Reed, Roman Reigns?
Yeah, I felt the match was too long. For what it was. It was a very weird choice to make this one be first. I would have gone for something else potentially. I think that there's obviously going to be more to this. I'm assuming they're going to go down the route of a stretcher match down the line, or I don't know. Is it always just leading into War Games? In the War Game story, and the Roman Reigns returns obviously to be part of the babyface team at Survivor Series, potentially. But I thought the match itself, like it was okay for me. I just felt that, we just needed to see this timed a bit better, and I think that even without the show. Looking at the rest of the show itself, I think, you don't need to. We can't really be getting back to having 20, 25-minute openers. But
especially when you had the entrances and the backstage walk-in and all that kind of stuff, it made it feel even longer.
Yes, and the fact that it's a singles match and then only two other people getting involved with it, and it's only leading into one story really. It's just I don't know why they decided to have this on first. I think it is just that whole with Roman's not on last and on first stuff, but maybe it's one where he could have just gone on second just to kind of start the show with that tag, because that entrance that the Wyatts did was pretty sick.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And I guess I have the weird sponsor. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But in terms of Roman and Braun, the right person won. But obviously, they need to write Roman off. I'm guessing he's not going to be on WrestlePalooza. And we're looking, or Crown Jewels, we're looking more at Roman being involved with the next like Survivor Series.
Yeah.
I know they have that thing with Roman and with some of the bigger names that, they will not. And this is where, obviously back in the day, it wouldn't exist this. But you'd have, they don't like people basically being on a show having the kind of quote-unquote random match and losing. It's like before at the Rumble, he had to get taken out of the Rumble because he couldn't be in the chamber because he couldn't get pinned. So you're then losing your top star for 2 months because you just don't want him losing, a match. And this is probably similar. It's a case of like, well, where do they go next with this? They probably want to do, if they want to do Ron Breakker and Roman, or a rematch between Bronson and Roman. But do they want Bronson to win that? It's like they don't want Roman to be on the next show and lose and then set something else up. So it's all gets a bit difficult. But I would have said, match itself, I would have just trimmed 5 minutes off. I think would have been more there, especially considering how long the post-match stuff happened.
Yeah.
And the post-match stuff, I think even that, it could have been done a bit more succinctly. I'd argue that the backstage update could have been just explained by the commentators, being deadly honest, and then maybe maybe just done something on Raw the next night, or say, it's next night. Actually.
Yeah, I guess. What do you mean as far as saying they're banned and all that? Or I think it played into the drama of the thing later on, though.
Part of the brawling thing, you said look, if you guys don't get out of here, you guys need to get out of here. You're bound to ringside. I don't know why then go backstage
to get another segment. Yeah.
It could have just been done in the ring. I think that actually got a bigger pop as well because you're right in front of the fans, and Adam Pearce, people know his Pearceisms, and the whole I need a drink, and I think that could have just been done a bit more because again, it's just they went to adverts, didn't they? And they came back and went straight back to the same.
Into the same story, and a story that had
move it on,
already taken up the first hour of the show by that point. But again, it's not strictly true because we had the promo package and all that, but it just feels like that when it's the only match we've seen at that point. It kind of doesn't lean in his favour, essentially. Aiden's back in the house. Good to see you, Aiden. Hope you're doing well. Keep the comments coming, guys. Let us know what you thought of the show. Aiden was popping in and out, wasn't he? So I don't think Aiden's managed to see all the Clash, at least. Gary did agree, though, that the opening match was a bit long. But after the opening match, we moved into the one that, as Lucas said, maybe suffered a little bit here because it didn't, it kind of lost a little bit of that shine. Usually this is the kind of match you would open up with, a kind of high-flying tag team, multi-person match. I do think they delivered. I do think it was an enjoyable match, and there are some interesting things story-wise with this as well. We start out, as you say, with the entrances. There's a Borderlands entrance, first of all, for the Street Profits, which made me think, can they turn on each other while in a advertised kind of set of gear? That's a bit weird, right? Or what is the advertisers got? They paid for basically a big moment, right? So I was kind of second guessing myself, because they did have a lot of the hints again towards the Street Profits splitting up. Either they're playing into the rumors that they know are out there, or they're actually doing it. Montez was on the outside, tagged himself in, all this kind of cheeky stuff as well. Got a little bit better towards the end, but at the start, there was definitely friction between the two of them. The White Six, completely different story. They come out on top of the world, tag team champions, and they had a fantastic entrance. As you say, the Fireflies up and down the Eiffel Tower, the Fireflies in the air as well, as far as the fans putting their phones on and singing the theme song as well. I think it's a fantastic song. It's nice to have that legacy continue from Bray Wyatt, who sadly didn't get to use it that long. It continues over, as does much of his legacy, really into this stable. And it was really nice to see the audience sing that part of the song really, really loud. So it was you often get with the legends, right? And the old school songs like Randy Orton, CM Punk, Edge, but you don't often get it with these kind of newer acts. So I thought it was really cool how the fans in Paris really kind of sung to the top of their lungs in that entrance as well. It's probably the best entrance I've seen for the Wyatt Six. They've got a great presentation already, but you add that fan base in, you add all the kind of Fireflies. I thought it really, really was good. And again, I think the match was good overall as well. A lot of cool high-flying stuff, including from Angelo Dawkins. He started to look a little bit kind of heelish at the beginning, but later on was very happy himself to kind of bust out a few moves that you don't often see from a guy of his size. So this match overall, really, really good. It was the Wyatt Six that came out on top, which I think is the right decision. Didn't want them to hot potato the title back to the Street Profits. But Lucas, thoughts on the tag team title match overall?
Yeah, it's a solid match. I mean, the Street Profits are fantastic. I'm not the biggest Wyatt Six fan in terms of in-ring work, but I think that the entrance presentation is very good. They're being used quite good here. It's interesting, though, because they've been booked more as babyfaces since they've come back, but they were very much the villains in this match, which is also interesting when you layer on the fact that they were teasing the Street Profits trying to turn as well.
Yeah.
But it didn't really take away too much from the match, but it did just make me question that they're probably not going to do the turn. Even though I was kind of thinking they wouldn't do it anyway today, because obviously they're in Paris, like it hadn't really built this at all. But I guess it'd be interesting seeing the reaction from the Street Profits, come SmackDown, I guess, by the time they get back to the United States.
Yeah.
I like them having B-Fab with them, and I'd like potentially B-Fab to factor into any turn they do.
That's what I was saying, right? So I think B-Fab should align herself with Angelo Dawkins, who is annoyed at Montez for always being flashy and showing off, because that is kind of the thing. Everybody thinks Montez is great, right? They can play into that, and there's always a risk when you turn and you split up a team, and everybody has said it about Dawkins. I think he's really kind of improved over the past few years as well, and kind of almost prepared himself, I think, for the split. And I think putting B-Fab with him will be positive. And then if you wanted to later down the line, you could put Bianca with Montez if you really wanted to do that as well. Maybe what we saw at the end of the match could play into it, though, Lucas. You saw distraction basically for him. He got distracted because he was so busy doing the old suck it, it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you remember when Matt and Jeff had a bit of a falling out, because that time Jeff did like a move off the cage, and Matt was like, why do you have to keep doing this sort of thing? Like, we could have just won. It kind of reminded me of that. And obviously he got his leg caught by Nikki Cross from under the ring. He, as a babyface, if that did happen, could argue, what are you talking about? You got distracted a moment ago by, Big Red, basically. So the seeds are there for a split and a story to be told. And I do wonder if the end of this match will start to play into it as well. But as we both have said, really, probably the right decision to keep it on the Wyatt Six. And as Gary says in the comments as well, it was a great match, but Wyatt Six's entrance stole the segment.
I think this has been a good example, though, where going back to needing to feature other backstage segments, after this match, I would have cut backstage to the current Raw Tag Team Champions or the contender for the tag titles, spoken about that scene. Because, we need to know that, okay, this tag division, with the Wyatts and all that lot on SmackDown is actually more than covered. But the other tag belts, we find ourselves left with so many questions about certain bits and pieces where these little gaps you have, just use them. Just give it. Doesn't have to be like, not everyone has to do 20-minute opening episode of Raw promos to get stuff over. Just literally have a segment backstage where maybe you've got LWO arguing with Viking Raiders or War Raiders, over something, and then it's like were they both going to be the tag champions, in on Raw, and then have Judgment Day walk past them and brush them off and be like, we ain't facing either of you, and then Adam Pearce walks in and just says, well, okay, well tomorrow night on Raw we're going to have you two against you two.
Yeah.
Like, where's all this spontaneity gone? Like, where it used to exist all the time with all the belts, and even, but now it's just like, oh, we won't know what's going on with those tag belts for a long time.
Yeah,
It got so bad that they booked non-title matches against random tag teams just to get the Judgment Day to have a match.
Yeah,
they haven't built up any other tag team to face them.
I mean, Stephanie Vaquero is the other one, right? They why have they still not decided what they're doing with her match?
I think that's poor taste. That she should have appeared on some capacity on the show, and that's another thing that Vince would have been good with.
Even at ringside, to be like, she should have had a match tonight, but she's still here.
Yeah, I guess potentially commentary might be, being guest commentator might be a bit out of her wheelhouse. Obviously, with English not being her first language, but yeah, definitely something. Like Vince would have done something. Like whether it be even just be the pre-show match or just like another match. Because again, I don't remember the last time she wrestled either.
Yeah. Well, talking about someone who didn't get the show, let's move into women that were featured on the show, and one of those in a very big way at the end of the night, but we'll hold our horses on that for now and talk about the match she was in earlier on, Becky Lynch versus Nikki Bella. Now, this is one that, as Lucas said earlier on, was basically, I don't know, I guess a bit of a dark horse almost. It was a really entertaining match in a show that was entertaining overall. As you mentioned earlier on, a few kind of sloppy bits and stuff like that, but for the most part, very good. I actually feel like Nikki Bella should be winning that title, but not straight away. But now that we get to this storyline she's in with her husband, I don't know where we go with that title. But again, maybe that's a bit of a conversation for another time. But this match itself, again, I was kind of judging it through the kind of eyes of, okay, well, if Nikki Bella hasn't won, she'll probably win it next month or the month after that. I'm not really sure where we go with that now, so I'm not really sure how that makes me feel about this match, because I would feel bad if Nikki now had to get lost in the shuffle. I mean, realistically, she could end up being in that spot against Stephanie Vaquero, but that's awkward when she's also a babyface, so maybe not the best idea there.
The thing they got to be careful with too is they've now got two villain groups on Raw that have two championships. Obviously, Judgment Day have both the IC and the tag.
Yeah.
Rollins and Becky with the other two belts. Wait, is there a single babyface champion on Raw then? He'd definitely win that belt tomorrow, I think. Because you got Becky.
Yeah, true. Yeah, if AJ Styles wins, then that'll level things up a little bit more. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, well, I don't know. I think that basically has confirmed it. I mean, to be honest.
Yeah, I think we just walked into a spoiler, maybe.
You've got all your belts on two stables, who are all villain. I think we'll be seeing a title change tomorrow, guys.
Yeah, I think so. And look, we'll be covering it on this channel because we will be doing a watch along for Raw in Paris, the last show on the international TV run. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, it's been good fun. It's been good fun. Viking Raiders, what such a better name than War Raiders, says Gary. I can't even get my words out here.
I actually quite like the Viking Raiders name.
I'm just not a big fan of the whole pretending to be a Viking thing, to be honest. To be honest,
but you like them tend to be going to war.
I don't really. Who said I liked them? Gary also says, to be honest, I'm glad Becky won because Bella didn't do anything to deserve the win, just for coming back. Yeah. So Gary asked earlier on in the stream, how did she get this match? And it kind of was just like, oh, I'm back. I'm the good guy. You're the bad guy. So yeah, I kind of get where you're coming from there. Maybe this is her way to earn into something like that, though.
I don't know. I think she kind of has. She's kind of earned it, but in a weird kind of wrestling earned it. Like, I think, obviously, when she came back, she was obviously promised the match with Liv Morgan at Evolution.
True, yeah.
She then, she then ate a bit of crap and she went into the Battle Royal and didn't win that, by the way, at Evolution. And so I think this is kind of the kind of quote unquote kind of reward for, kind of putting up with that, so to speak. Even though it's not obviously her fault, it's not their fault either. If someone gets injured, but it's a case of, and potentially this is something we should be seeing with Stephanie Becker because again, it's not her fault that Naomi got pregnant and that took a match away from this. But I would just say the way to do that would just be to book her in a match. I don't have to be anything spectacular. Just needs, there's lots of women on the roster that could have dealt with it. Just, you've had Natalia and Maxine Dupree literally begging for a storyline, on television. Just go, Natalia, Natalia with Stephanie Becker could have worked here tonight. Easy peasy, 5-minute match. Natalia's always a safe pair of hands, and it would just get her on the card. But it's something that you should do quite a lot, with this. So I disagree. I think, yes, she hasn't, from in terms of the storyline perspective, she hasn't earned it. But we've seen worse happen previously, including with people like Becky Lynch herself, who just decided to come back and win the tag WrestleMania.
Gosh, yeah,
We've seen Charlotte Flair do this multiple times before. And obviously on the men's side of things, we have Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns who just go, I'm going to fight for the championship. And then we all just go, oh, okay. You're not here for 6 months, but now you're just going to fight for the title. So I don't think it's fair to say that, it's a bad thing here. It's just, that's how it's gone.
Yeah, no, I think, again, if this feud was to continue, I can see it picking up the win. And it might still happen, but again, it's kind of hard to tell because of what happened at the end of the show. Again, we're going to get to that in just a bit, but we're doing it match by match for now. So let us know what you thought of this match, guys. We're talking about the women's Intercontinental title, but also what you thought of the rest of the show in general and what you would rate the show. We'll get to our ratings at the end of the stream. But again, keep the comments coming, and we appreciate everyone that stuck with us from the build-up show into the watch-along, now into the instant reaction review. So let's move on to the next match. As I say, Becky Lynch leaves as Intercontinental Champion still. The next one, I think we had a lot of fun watching this one, Lucas. The Donnybrook match, the good old-fashioned Donnybrook between Sheamus and Rusev. Now, there were some obvious spots, we saw the barrels there, and you rightly said, I think someone's diving up. I think you specifically said the move that was going to happen off of it as well. It was set up for a long time with the tables there, but still, fantastic use of the props. It ends with Rusev breaking the shillelagh over Sheamus's back and then pulling the shillelagh so far up over Sheamus's mouth with a modified version of a accolade, pulls him all the way back, and Sheamus ends up tapping as well. They made a point on that on commentary, by the way. Michael Cole said Sheamus tapped, and he didn't pass out because Rusev is such a badass. I think this is exactly what Rusev needed. Look, we've kind of waxed lyrical on the channel about Sheamus potentially becoming IC champ eventually before he hangs it up and how we think it should happen. We were talking on the watch-along about his kind of match at Clash at the Castle a few years back with Gunther as well. But I felt that this was it's a completely different match type, don't get me wrong. But it's still another time where Sheamus is just showing how good he is. And he belongs in these big matches, in these big moments, at this big old age that he's at as well, So for me, very, very entertaining. And I think, again, one of those that did exactly what it needed to do. It made Sheamus look good again, but it also gave Rusev some of his shine back as well. So, I'm sure you'll echo my thoughts on this one, Lucas.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. I like it. This could have even been a good way to open the show, to be fair.
Yeah.
Just a nice, fun match. Gets, but it really woke the crowd up at this point. So potentially, again, just looking at how we were with this show, where we had, obviously, like several was touched upon it, really long opening match. I think this was a good way of getting people back invested. Yeah, there were some slow bits in there, but yeah, this is one where they both hit hard. They both, they worked together to create this match. Yeah, there was, like I said, some obvious spots that happened, but I thought it was really well done. I think it's the correct winner. I was surprised that it was a tap out. Sheamus is not a guy who we see tap out quite a lot, so it's always a big deal. And you can't even help but think that maybe that's something he's called himself.
I just wondered that myself. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that this was definitely the right way to go. And I'm assuming that's like the feud ended now, and Rusev will move on to whatever is next for him, which I hope, I hope it's something that we can all kind of enjoy again.
I just thought though about what could be next with Rusev, and this definitely isn't it. And I was trying to picture who he'd be working against that would kind of be, you can, it makes sense. And it's Cody Rhodes. I think Cody Rhodes versus Rusev is a match that you can picture it, right, because of the kind of American Nightmare and all that kind of stuff as well. So as far as the last match, Becky versus Nikki, Gary gave a 6 out of 10, and then talking about this one here. So another match I don't quite understand, wasn't the best mates at one point. Then Rusev got injured and went away for ages, came back all angry. Yeah, well, we left the WWE, then we went to AEW. And yeah, he definitely come back all angry. I haven't been the biggest fan of how they've used Rusev since he come back, but I know what's in Rusev and I know what I've enjoyed about Rusev in the past. So I'm really hoping that we get back to something like that at least. And I agree with you. I think this is kind of almost that first step in something like that to move him on to something else. Hopefully Sheamus gets rewarded for this great performance as well. But yeah, the big spot in this one again was that the white noise, is it white noise? Yeah, white noise off the barrels through the tables, and just loads of fun hardcore spots. And again, it ends with the tapping out of Sheamus. So big statement there for Rusev indeed. That was probably one of my favorite matches of the night, actually. But then we get towards the end of the show. We start winding down with two big matches that we weren't sure which one was going to main event, depending on which one went out with the craziest shenanigans. And this one, the opportunity was there for a progression of the Brock Lesnar storyline. We didn't get that, so you got to assume he might be showing up next week on SmackDown to start building towards WrestlePalooza. I wasn't against it because my big thinking was if he did come back, what would he do? He'd either ruin the match or do the same thing he did last month, which I didn't think was would have been as special as far as a shocking return, right? Instead, what we got was again quite slow pace match from the start. John Cena versus Logan Paul, of course, but one of those where yes, there might have been a few sloppy moments. There might have been moves that didn't hit quite in the right place, or there was a bit of blood coming out and stuff like that. But generally speaking, these guys worked hard and they took the audience along for a great ride. I think Logan did some great heel work here. Cena did Super Cena stuff and babyface Cena stuff to a T as well. What were your thoughts on the John Cena Logan Paul match, Lucas?
It's a match too hard, really. Like, I think, look, this is tough for me to say it because obviously I love John Cena, but I think that while this match was good, because he's not able to do some of the stuff as snappy as he used to be able to do it, it becomes more noticeable towards the end.
Yeah.
And I also just fear that the AA is just absolutely buried now.
Dead. It's dead.
Every Tom, Dick, Harry, Larry, Mary, Sarah, are always
and Logan.
Logan are always kicking out of it. And it does lead to a large part of the back end of his matches just being, I'll lift you up, they drop down. They go for their one, I'll lift you back up, drop you down. You know what I mean? Like, it creates a thing. And I do think that, we do need to sometimes have matches where it's just a one and done. Even if, like I say, people can fight out of it, they can reverse it, they can counter it, but these sometimes be, and this could have been the match to do it in, to be fair, because Logan's very good at kind of reversing stuff, and Cena could have still done like his other moves, but could have got the STF in there, could have done like 5 shuffle, that kind of stuff, but just have it be that Logan keeps getting out of the AA, goes to that punch, and eventually one AA and you're done. And I think this was the match, because I think we need to re-establish it, especially as we are at the end. And we have to imagine next month, we're getting a lot of AAs against Lesnar.
True. If Logan Paul can kick out this many, how many can Brock Lesnar kick out of this? And I think as well, like there'd be a case for Lesnar to, for Logan to have just been pinned by one of them because he's still kind of a rookie. The story was kind of like, I've done more in my X amount of years than you've done in 20, and I've done 23 matches. And he's like, you've only done 23 matches. There was a story to tell there, but they didn't really do it. He kind of held his own, but then you also have to kind of hold up the fact that Cena is on the way down. So while this guy isn't quite ready, Cena isn't what he was. So they do kind of match up like that. So it kind of makes sense.
The theory that I'm having off the back of that, though, is that Lesnar is going to squash Cena next month.
What, and then he needs one last kind of hurrah.
Then Cena has to fight for that final match. To get back to thing. I think 26 minutes he's having a match. 26 minutes like tonight. I don't see what you're going to get out of Lesnar. We know Lesnar match is never long. I don't think he's on a match above 10 minutes since he returned. So even if it's not squash, I don't think it's going to be far off one. I don't see. Well,
and the numbers are kind of dwindling, man. We ain't got much time left. I mean, this is not the time or place at the moment to dive into who Cena's last opponent could be, but we are getting close. Yeah. I mean, that's
we've got 8 left.
A conversation we'll be probably having quite soon because, as you say, we've got 8 left and we're not very far from it. I mean, it's very emotional, by the way, seeing him come out and the fans sing his song. And like, he really seemed to take it in because, we mentioned it on the SmackDown stream as well. We had heard everybody say that Leon was the best crowd. And I think Paris was just up there as well today. They're the massive arena full of fans singing his song, and it really hit me when they said on commentary, this is the last time Cena will wrestle in Europe. And I was like, man, I wish I went already. But now, and I'm not even the biggest Cena fan, so it really is starting to feel real. You saw the banner in the background, which was perfectly kind of placed as well from the fans in Paris. So really kind of emotional stuff, but all in all, a decent match. And I've got to bring this comment here. Gary says, and then Cena hit a Styles Clash. My goodness, I popped for the Styles Clash. I mean, I said at the beginning, I felt like it was going to be a slow match that again exploded similar to the opening match. But my other point was I felt like Cena was going to hit a few moves that we don't expect him to hit. And he started, he did the Hurricane Runner, he did things like that. Then he hits the bloody Styles Clash, man. It was crazy. I was terrified when he had that Logan in the position for it. But it went smoothly. And he pulled it off, and overall, just fun. It is what it is. But what were your thoughts when you saw Cena setting up for the Styles Clash?
I mean, it made sense. Like it is his way of homaging it, and it may even be his sad way of telling us that we're not getting him versus Styles part of this.
Which is such a good feud, man.
Yeah,
we can't get all the greatest hits, can we?
I know, but that's one which is a big omission, and I think. Obviously Styles was able to go back to TNA this year in terms of appearance, but I think, if he doesn't get this match against Cena as part of Cena's final run, I think they need to let him have a match at TNA. Because, we will talk about this as the months go on, but we are looking like, obviously, potentially next year or the year after will probably be Styles is lost kind of thing. It's coming. Like, it's coming.
Yeah.
But... yeah, I think not before he beats Dominic Mysterio tomorrow night. But I thought that the back end of this match was. It reminded me. You know what it reminded me of? The weird greatest wrestling match ever that Edge and Orton had.
Oh yeah.
Where they just towards the end they just did everyone's finishes basically. That's kind of what it felt. No, that's kind of what it felt like.
Yeah.
Sometimes this is kind of needed, but obviously just looking at the card now, and to be fair, like. Obviously, a very long show, but I think also a lot of wrestling on this show. Like the last 3 matches were all over 20 minutes long. The opening match was 20 minutes. And so I think that may be where the pacing's going. Like they're trying to give a lot of time to everyone. Which just particularly like those last 3, it was a long, a big chunk to watch. So maybe they got a thing. But I think obviously this also is like Cena's last match in Europe.
You kind of got to give it to him, right? He's earned it. So
I guess if he wants to go 25 minutes with Logan Paul, let him, I guess. Isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And
again, again, prove that he is a very, very good wrestler. And that's just it, really. I guess.
And he's getting better and better each time. So it's
24 matches now, isn't it?
Yeah, 24 in the book. He's 25th. And I said it earlier, and they said it in commentary as well. Like on commentary, they said he's never had a bad match, and I was basically saying, well, I agree with that, but I also would say. He's never had a small match. Like every match he's been in, and it's because of his position. Don't get me wrong; he's being used in a certain way, but like he's lived up to it. He's been absolutely excellent. So, more praise for him there. Another comment here from Gary talking about the Rusev match. He gave that one an 8 out of 10. It was a lot of fun, and then says with this one here, I'm just glad that Logan didn't beat Cena.
Mm-hmm.
And then says for this one, 8.5 out of 10 for Cena's match. So yeah, Gary really enjoyed the John Cena Logan Paul match here as well. Let's move into the main event, though. This is one, not that one there.
Not that one.
It wasn't the main event. This one here, CM Punk, Jey Uso, LA Knight, and Seth freaking Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. And again, this is one that was kind of laced throughout the night. They opened up with, again, Roman Reigns being taken away. But so was Paul Heyman, Bronson Reed, and Bron Breakker. As far as Heyman in the hospital and the other two banned, and they were told, look, if you come back, you're going to get fined and suspended without pay and all that kind of stuff. So the wheels are in motion. I mean, they've been in motion for a little while, really, about maybe a new member. Seth said a few things, kind of hinting about always having a plan, that kind of talk. And he said the same here tonight. But he also said, I've done stuff like this before on my own. Don't worry about it. And it kind of like looked that way in the match for a little bit. He was definitely a man on a mission. There was that bit where I was laughing earlier on where he kind of just ran at people viciously, you know, hit a stomp on Jey Uso, hit a stomp on LA Knight, and then realized Punk was getting up and tried to stomp him into the chair as well. But yeah, I thought this was a really fun match. Of course, it ended with the Becky Lynch thing, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Thoughts on the match overall? Table spot, kind of no DQ-ish type stipulation to it because it was a fatal four-way. But yeah, pretty good and a nice way to end the show. Even if we didn't get the big surprise at the end, I think this is pretty deserving in the main event spot.
Yeah. I think it just felt like there was 3 main events tonight. Do you know what I mean? Like 3 like big matches, which, don't get me wrong, is good. But I think it's, you know, going forward, something they've got to look at which one, we kind of maybe need to just, you know, lower it a little bit so we're not 3 matches that are over 20 minutes long. But yeah, I thought that, you know, they're getting very good at telling and intertwining a lot of storylines into these multi-person matches. And so they do seem like a big deal when they are done now. And they're not a random kind of thing. So I always give props for that. It does seem that this World Heavyweight title division could go in multiple directions, which is good. You know, I would argue we maybe do need to start thinking of, like, you know, another option, like an alternative option, because we are, you know, at the moment we've seen quite a lot of crossover between the 4 that were in this match in particular. And obviously, you know, once you add the Brons in as well. So it would be nice to see someone else kind of break through the upper echelon into the upper scene. Potentially, you know, this is where, you know, I know they're always been a fan of people losing upwards. Maybe this is where Sheamus can come in. Maybe this is where, you know, there's plenty of other people kind of on the roster that could. You know, I just don't want it just to be just like 4 people basically. But I get that.
I get say that LA Knight has squeezed his way into it because I don't think anyone really expected him to win today. I do feel like in a certain kind of scenario at a certain time he could become world champion still, but tonight weren't going to be that night. So he's kind of squeezed his way into the story as well, but been interwoven in it, like you say. You know, it was his match that Seth faked the injury, and then recently him and Punk have been going back and forth. And as you speculated while we were on the watch along, do we, you know, does it look like we're going to get towards that being the match? And it certainly looks that way now when he bumped.
But then because we've had that finish, surely obviously Punk's going to want to obviously avenge that loss and be like, look, you know, cost me the match. The match. You know, I deserve the match. And maybe they can long that out by, you know, maybe doing either an injury angle with Punk, then they've got to realise we're just done with Roman. You know, that you're really going to have Roman and Punk off your show. Is the answer to that. You know, not if you don't have to anyway. Through last year already with Punk being injured and stuff. You know, you could prolong it with, I don't know what you could prolong it with now, really, because basically, there's now, it seems like, the A Knight thing, now I'm thinking about it realistically, A Knight and Punk are now even. So unless something happened between them now to reignite it, it's kind of done. Could obviously.
You think,
Well, yeah, because, you know, Punk did the whole accidentally put LA Knight through a table and now LA got it.
True, yeah, maybe that's just,
That's kind of the payoff, and they're both baby faces. So it would make no sense for LA Knight to all of a sudden keep having a problem with Punk and vice versa, particularly. The main thing that Punk should be wanting to focus on is the fact that, you know, he was about to be World Heavyweight Champion again, and someone's wife comes out.
He's been screwed again.
and get screwed again, which we've now seen two times back to back. So one would have to imagine, we need to have a third occasion of this happening, this match going down, and potentially it doesn't happen. But it's a case of, like you said earlier, like, is the Punk Rollins thing going to WrestleMania?
It can't blow off at WrestlePalooza, so that would just feel really weird. Like, talk about interwoven storylines. This has been since the night he came back, and the rumors going around the night he came back of
almost
Seth Rollins. Rollins ain't happy, and those clips and stuff like that. Him and Drew, they've done so well to turn these into fantastic storylines. Yeah. So you got to expect, unless it goes much like the Drew one does, to what hasn't been announced yet, but maybe could be happening in October, is another Bad Blood and therefore another Hell in a Cell. It's definitely a feud that screams Hell in a Cell in some way, especially, to keep out the Vision and stuff like that. So I could kind of see that. And then you kind of take your foot off the gas a little bit and then let it heat back up before WrestleMania. There are still interwoven things again, as we mentioned earlier on, with Roman Reigns and the rest of the kind of the Vision as far as he's concerned. So
there's loads, there's absolutely loads.
There's a lot they can do. Get to Gary's comments here as well, just talking about the match itself. Says this one's tough as far as kind of rating it, but says it's just a shame in these type of matches that he ended interference and not with a straight win, because I think if it didn't, basically that title would have changed hands. And that's basically the story they're telling here tonight, is that they, the Vision were banned from ringside and they weren't able to help out Seth Rollins. So what was he going to do? Well, a smart man, of course, had a plan up his sleeve all along, and it ends up being Becky Lynch. And it's something I've wanted them to do for a while. I think when she came back and they showed that footage, I mentioned it then after WrestleMania, she hadn't turned heel yet. She come back as a face, and they showed her backstage online and stuff like the WWE socials, celebrating what Seth had done as a bad guy. And I thought there was a real disconnect there, because people know and whatever else. Sometimes you do get, Renee Young has interviewed her husband, who's a horrible person, while she's so sweet on commentary. Like, they've done that can happen, don't get me wrong. But when they're both wrestlers, it's a little trickier, because Renee kind of acted like, oh, it's my husband, but like, I don't agree with this or whatever, because she's commenting on it. Whereas Becky is sitting there backstage clapping what her husband's doing. He looked a little bit off. She turns heel basically straight after that, and I thought, this is it. We're gonna get them together. They start building the stable, and I think they are finally getting to a place where the stable is starting to mean something. It's got a name now. I do think they're gelling a little bit better than they were before, and I think Bronson Reed has done better in the stable than Bron Breakker has. I think Bronson's, especially after the last feud he's done with Roman Reigns, started to shine a little bit more, which I think has helped him. Now we've got Becky Lynch in the mix. It's going to be interesting to see what the dynamic is. But finally, we get someone who's a kind of a vicious and callous heel in the women's division, linking up with her husband. It makes complete sense. And like I said when we was on the watch along, if you are with a partner, you're going to have the same views as them, generally speaking. If you align in kind of personality, which they do in character, because they're both bad guys, then she's not going to like CM Punk. She's going to hate him. She's going to come home every night with Seth moaning and think, oh man, you got to get him, and then think, you know what, I'm going to get involved. So that's basically what they've done here, and I'm really excited to see how they do this. Look, we've done husband and wife teams before, boyfriend and girlfriend teams before. We've had Miz and Maurice, which is fantastic. We had even Nikki Bella and John Cena. We've had, you name it over the years, good combinations. But this is yet something different, with a different kind of character, someone who's a Hall of Famer in their own right in Becky Lynch, and kind of at an interesting part in her career as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do here. If you want to see mine and Lucas's reaction as it happened, check out the clip on the watch along itself, because we were reacting to the show live. But yeah, now that you've had a few moments to think about it, Lucas, what are your thoughts on the kind of developing story of Becky Lynch potentially, surely, being the newest member of the Vision?
Yeah, it's definitely the right direction. Like I said on the live reaction, I think that there was gelling issues in the current iteration of it, and if the one story we only touch upon, but which could come out of this, obviously, is one of the Brons turning on Rollins, and that kind of dissension that usually happens with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it opens up them to do much more things. Like I said, my only concern at the moment is that they've got all 4 Raw belts on 2 stables, and so we would need to break one away, and I'm assuming that's what they would do tomorrow night.
Mm.
In terms of how it's played out, like, it was fine. Like, Gary, I know you said obviously about the interference and stuff. Like, I get that, but these matches kind of are always the vehicle for that to happen. Triple threats exist because you don't want one person getting pinned by another person, and so four ways are similar in that you've got a group of guys here where you want to protect everyone in the match essentially, and WWE do different ways of doing that. So obviously, Jey Uso they gave the injury to, so obviously that explained why he was obviously more affected by a lot of stuff, and so he couldn't then be part of the finish. Obviously, A Knight was, I guess you'd argue, he was the disposable player in this one.
He went for the table, and then he is one of the people that Seth stomped on the outside as well. So,
I think this was fine though. I think, particularly because obviously early on in the show we had run such a big angle with a lot of interference. I think it was fine just having the low blow, Becky do the low blow, reveal, stomp. That was fine. I think if it had been anything more than that as well, they've gone, it's taking the mick a bit.
Yeah, sometimes it's kind of a simple story to tell. Again, Gary's not the biggest fan of how it happened, but as Lucas says, these matches tend to be here for that reason, and I think. I guess you could say, oh man, again, another piece of, another shenanigans and another shenanigans and another new member of a stable, and CM Punk's been screwed again. So if you can look at it that way, certainly. But if you try and look at the positives, then you're like, this is a vehicle for something bigger and something where I don't think next month at WrestlePalooza or whatever else we need another new member. I'm hoping this is it now. And this kind of is what drives it.
I'm just thinking about the belts overall, actually. I think we're pretty much villain heavy with them all.
Yeah.
At the moment. I know you got Cody and Tiffany over on SmackDown.
I mean, Tiffany, you don't know if she's a face or a heel, so that doesn't help.
She can't seem to get on the show anyway.
The White Six don't know if they're faces or heels.
They're meant to be faces, but they came across as villains tonight. But yeah, we are very villain heavy, though, I think. Judgment Day. But yeah, particularly like the 4 Raw belts now, all being on 2 stables, and obviously Julia as well. But again, she can't get TV time, so it's. But it just seemed like we do maybe need a couple of these feel good moments, which again I guess why they've done the Sami Zayn winning the US belt, and I guess potentially tomorrow AJ Styles winning the IC. But I don't see a universe where AJ doesn't win. I think it'd be very daft if he doesn't win tomorrow. Yeah,
Dom's at it for a while now as well, so I do think. The time is right to kind of shake things up, and it gives a whole load of new matches as well. It shakes things up with the Judgment Day itself, and much like what we've seen on SmackDown, it just kind of freshens things up with Sami doing it as well. As I say, we'll be live tomorrow doing the watch along and instant reaction review for that. So if AJ Styles wins,
John Cena is scheduled for a Raw. Like
this Raw, as in Paris,
no, for a Raw in a few weeks.
Okay,
you know what? You know what? Just do AJ and Cena them the IC title
on Raw. That'd be cool. That would be cool. And Cena could win, mate. Cena could win it because Grand Slam, mate. Imagine if they wrapped it up in a nice little bow that quickly, man.
I think sometimes you've got to just do it. Like I think you give, because obviously AJ was so over the parrot with the French crowd. So give him his moment tomorrow, and then just have him say it. I think. They're in this realness era now. Just have him say it. What we know he needs to say. Essentially, he knows he's winding him down himself. He's admitted in interviews that the contract he signed recently is the last full-time wrestling contract he's ever going to sign. And just have him admit, look, there's 2 things that I want to do before I basically retire, and I want to have one more match with John Cena, and I want to wrestle in TNA, and just put it out there.
Yeah.
And I think because even in this whole, and recently on you got TNA, Trick Williams is the current TNA World Champion, and he mentioned AJ Styles in the promo a few weeks back, and everyone was just chanting for AJ Styles. It's just things we want to see, and I think this is meant to be the era where not saying we have to let the fans kind of run roughshod, but I think if people want something and you can do it. Logistically, you can do it. Just give them the match.
Yeah.
Because, like we say, 8 appearances left for Cena.
Yeah, if he's on Raw and he's just going to do a promo anyway, then come on, he's got to feel that himself.
It writes itself.
Yeah, and he's got to feel like, man, I ain't going to be in this ring many times I could squeeze in one more. You know what I mean? So, look, that's again kind of
that's future planning.
That's future stuff, but also Dominic and kind of AJ Styles. I mean, it might not even change. The title. We're kind of future booking something that might not even get the opportunity to be there. But AJ versus Cena could certainly happen, but he might not have the belt at the time. But we'll see tomorrow night in Paris. Gary says a good 9 out of 10, I should say, for the main event. So Gary was a fan of what he saw in the main event. But that does start bringing us towards the end of the show now. So we'll kind of go over some last-minute thoughts and kind of overall feelings about Clash in Paris. So get your comments in, guys, if you've got anything else you do want to get in. Or if you're watching on demand, don't worry, you can drop your comments down below and we'll try and reply to those as well. But yeah, thoughts on the show overall as we start stepping away from it and putting a pin in Clash in Paris 2025. Lucas, what would you give it out of 10?
I'd give it an 8, to be fair. I think, we've touched on the problems that we've had with it, mainly with regards to the pacing and the length. But I do think there was a lot of quality wrestling, on display. Over 2 hours of in-ring action on this broadcast. Yes, I know it went almost 4 hours all in, but, that's just, part and part of the parcel. I think that we've got a very interesting Raw main event scene to look forward to, with a lot of names that can kind of interchange and do different bits and pieces. We've got a new direction for the Vision, which was much needed in my opinion, because Raw was becoming a copy and paste job every week. This should hopefully change it, at least for 1 week, until they decide the new formula. It was nice seeing the tag belts defended on the PLE. It's very rare we see that, outside of, obviously, we saw the TLC match last month. But yeah, we do need to start seeing more tag title defences on PLEs going forward. Very strong performance by Nikki Bella. I think that was a very good match, and the Donnybrook match I think was very, very good as well. Just like I said, my main criticisms are the pacing, and I think again, I'm assuming they're bookending the weekend with 2 titles changing hands. Obviously, we're assuming the second one's already happened. Obviously, Sami Zayn won the US belt, but just question, is this a tactic they're going to use for these 2, 3, 4, 5, how many days they want to do in a country events going forward, where they essentially split the attraction, and obviously, there's wrestlers that weren't on the pay-per-view that were on Raw, and vice versa.
Yeah.
To SmackDown and not on this one. So it'd be interesting seeing if they use that as a formula going forward. As obviously there's other weekenders that they've got. Obviously, the next one will be Crown Jewel, which should start of October, I think, isn't it? Start of October.
You know what? I keep saying about what the schedule is, and I completely forgot about Crown Jewel, because it's in Australia as well, isn't it?
Yeah, start of October, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right.
Which John Cena is scheduled to be a part of as well. One of these, one of the 8 that are left.
Yeah,
we got 2. I think we got 2 in September. We got plus WrestlePalooza, and then and Survivor Series, and that final match.
Man, and how does okay? We could be here all night talking about John Cena's last run. We'll have to hold fire on that. But it's been a great show, guys. I really appreciate everyone that's tuned in for this instant reaction review of Clash in Paris. Thank you to everyone as well that joined us earlier on tonight when we hyped you up and got you in the mood, hopefully, for the PLE itself, as we always do on this channel when it comes to PLEs. Also, a big thank you to everyone that joined us for the watch-along, and I hope you enjoyed your play-by-play experience with us. And like I say, thank you, rounding it off with the instant reaction review. We appreciate all your comments, which, by the way, I can see Gary in the comments thirsting over Tiffy time, which I think is a good time to say, Gary, I think it's bedtime, buddy. But thank you for all your comments tonight. Anyway, we appreciate all of them. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. As I said earlier on, we're going to be back talking all things Monday Night Raw, and we will have a watch-along experience for that, as well as a instant reaction review for it as well. So I've been Scott. He's been Lucas. This has been the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. We'll see you on the next one.